is Europe. The men who climb onto the beaches of the continent and fall upon the entrenched enemy are rehearsed, practiced and trained to the last detail. These men who have come from so many countries and speak so many tongues gathered together in Great Britain to form this vast Allied army and trained alongside their British comrades from the hills and woods of Devon to the highlands of Scotland. These men have learned how to make a bed the army way, how to clean a rifle, how to read a map and fire a mortar, how to drive a tank or a mule. Some of these men had fought the German in Africa, and some of them had left their friends in graves at Alamein, Kasserine, Mereth, and outside Bizerta. And now they learn how to crack the wall of German Europe. The boys from New York and London, from Seattle and Manchester, Toronto and Montreal, from Marseille, Warsaw and Prague, from Narvik, fight on the beaches of Europe. The issue is now in their hands. On their gallantry and their strength, our hopes now rest.
Came on the air today with this announcement in the English language, quote, "This is D-Day. We shall now bring music for the Allied invasion forces." So said the German-controlled Calais radio across the channel from England. Up to this time, almost an hour and a half after the first German broadcast, the United States Office of War Information, whose facilities will be used by American press organizations when Allied armies enter Western Europe, has not transmitted any information at all to support the German claims. Director Elmer Davis of the OWI rushed to his headquarters immediately when OWI officials advised him of the broadcasts from Germany. He told the United Press, "We have no more information than you have. I'll stay here until I find out whether the story is true or not." Last night, Elmer Davis addressed the National Press Club on psychological warfare and showed free-motion pictures illustrating how the OWI was propagandizing on the war front. He had just reached his home.
Hey friends, how's it going? Well, welcome back. It's been another week. But as you can see, we're commemorating today. I'm not really sharing any particular lanterns or talking about any kind of lantern history per se, but we're going to be talking about what today is, and just a moment of today is going to be dedicated to what happened 80 years ago. I feel it's very important. I know a lot of you do too. And, you know, for whatever it's worth, the only thing I could think of burning was this thing. And I'll tell you why. Even though this was made, you know, easily 40 plus years before the invasion, 44 plus years. But this is a CT Ham cold blast. It's a number 1 cold blast, and I have a red flash globe in it right now. So this is in honor of the big red one. That's right. Now, one of the main outfits to take the beach in Normandy. Right. And for whatever it's worth, I think that's appropriate. It is. And, you know, I just out here just kind of finishing a old cigar butt and a pipe. Any of you pipe guys out there do that? Put a, you know, you want to get all that you can and put it in the pipe and finish it off. Waste not want. I mean, some of them can be a little pricey, so you kind of want to get your dollar's worth, right? Anyway, we're not talking about that stuff today. We're just reflecting and contemplating and thinking about the sacrifices that were made that day. You know, 80 years, that's a long time. And it's getting to a point where there's no longer any veterans that are going to be attending these reunions or these ceremonies to commemorate these important events of history. And I am really sad at that fact, because I used to know a good number of World War II veterans, and they're all gone. In fact, my own grandfather, on my father's side of the family, the Smiths, he passed away before the 50th anniversary of D-Day. He died in 1992. But anyway, my grandfather on my mom's side, the Hatch side of the family, was he passed away on my birthday, actually, in 2017. But yeah, I had both grandfathers in World War II, one in the Pacific, one in the ETO. Yeah, my grandfather Smith was in England on an air base, and he was a radio technician. So he didn't really see any combat, but he just saw what was coming home from bombing raids over Germany. And he told me some of the stories, and eventually I would see photographs and books of the bombers that would come back from those daylight bombing raids, and how miraculous a lot of it was, how they managed to get home, back to their home field, and with just remnants holding them together. It's yeah, it's insane. It's the hand of God, if you will. And a lot of people say no. God had his hand in that. He absolutely did. We lost a lot of men over those targets, but we also got some home in very miraculous ways. But D-Day, I reflect upon my first ceremony or commemorative event, if you will, about D-Day. And that would be back in 1994. Now, for those who may know of this museum or have heard about it and haven't been, I definitely strongly encourage you to go, because the Chino Plains of Fame Air Museum in Chino, California is definitely world class. And they've assembled an amazing collection of aircraft, and they are also wonderful at maintaining other collections, privately owned or whatnot. So you have a lot of aircraft that come through there from different museums and collections and everything that get restored or maintained there. They have a wonderful facility, and they have nothing but resources, literature, everything, so they can do a good job of it. They have the only known Zero that has its original motor, and to find a Zero with a correct Mitsubishi motor, then that doesn't exist. So they have some very specific special aircraft, and I was there with my family. I was only 1994. Oh gosh, I was 15, I think. But yeah, 15, 16, somewhere around there. But that was an amazing event because I was already into the music and World War II stuff, but the framework was there, but it really accelerated my passions and interest in that history. They had a huge car show, and it was all cars of 1942 and earlier. And no hot rods or customs were really permitted, so it was all stock, restored, or original cars. They all had a big band in the hangar, and they were playing all the standards. It was a high school band playing 1940 standards, Goodman, Miller, stuff like that. And the whole environment really was special for me because I was just a young teenager and I hadn't really seen too much of that subculture, which, come to find out, was a thing, especially in the 90s with the swing dance revival and everything here. Yeah. But I saw some people there that I eventually became very good friends with later on. Anyway, the other thing I remember about that event is walking through a B-17. They have a B-17 there, and at that time it was just an empty shell. It had practically nothing inside, but they let you go through it just to walk around, and they had veterans hanging out under the wing of that B-17, and they'd talk to you if you approached them, and there was veterans from D-Day and other campaigns and other other areas of the war, and they were just all hanging out, chumming around, and talking about those times and talking about the war. And 50 years, I mean, that was a long time, but still there was a lot of veterans still around. And now 80 years now, oh man, there's barely any. There's very, very few that actually went to Normandy. Now, back, I think it was the 75th anniversary, they had a gentleman who was over 100 that bailed out of a C-47 with assistance, of course, but he did it in commemoration of that day that he did it back in 44. I just saw a thing on Facebook today that there was a gentleman who was 102 who was on his way to the ceremonies today, and he passed away. And he didn't make it to the ceremonies or the commemoration events, and he died on the way there. But we're getting to the point where veterans of World War II is becoming a very rare occurrence. Very rare. And anyone that runs into a World War II vet, definitely take the time to talk to them if they're open to talking. We're not going to see many of them for very much longer. This is their final call. And it's hard to see them go. I've known many. And many were my friends, and it's hard to see that generation leave because we've all called them the greatest generation, and they're the types that are that humble to say we weren't the heroes, we were just doing our job. And they say that heroes are the ones that didn't come home, and that to me is powerful, and it's hard. This morning I was listening to that broadcast, the CBS broadcast from 1944, June 6th, and listening to that broadcast as it came across that Silvertone radio early in the morning, it hits hard. You imagine the families getting up at at 3 in the morning, tuning in their radios and making coffee and hanging out there as a family with neighbors, and and little neighborhoods coming together just to gather around whoever had a radio. A lot of people did, but not everybody. And listening to the invasion because they had sons, boyfriends, and husbands there, and it was a very, very important point of the war. I've seen actual photos of downtown Los Angeles of everybody hanging outside, listening to radios, being broadcast over loudspeakers so they could listen. They took breaks so that everyone could listen to the invasion. It was a big, big deal. This was huge because this was a turning point in the European theater for the U.S. and fighting the Nazis. And 80 years ago, that's a lot of time, and we kind of lose perspective and how important that was. I know back in 1998 it was. I was on a date. I went to go see the movies. My first girlfriend. Yeah, she was cool. She was a neat lady. She liked the old stuff, and she was a dancer, and we would go swing dancing all the time. But she wanted to go see Private Ryan, and I said, oh, okay, yeah, I like war pictures. I'm a World War II buff, whatever. So we went. I was not prepared for that movie. And I had, done a lot of research and studying about World War II history, and I had known several veterans up to that point. And, being an artist, I drew a lot of World War II aircraft, built a lot of models and things, and I thought I had a fair understanding. But not Normandy. No, Normandy was, it was a very, very powerful thing. Now, a lot of historians have said that film is fairly accurate, and there's a few inaccuracies, but from what I've heard from veterans who actually couldn't watch that first opening scene, it was too real. It was too much like the real thing, and it was very hard. And my girlfriend at the time and I, all we did was cry, and it was really hard to see that. And my respect and appreciation for that generation just kind of went through the roof, more so than I expected. They were higher than it already was. But I will say that I'm glad I watched it, because it really brought so much full circle, and it gave me that respect and reverence for the sacrifice that those guys did that morning. They knew, a lot of them knew it was going to be a massacre, and it was. It was. And, I'm not name dropping anything, but I remember in 2012 there was an event called Spirit of 45, and it was celebrating the end of World War II. And there was a big band and a lot of festivities, but they had an encampment with a Sherman tank, some half-tracks, Jeeps, and everything, and military tents and everything. It was a really well-done display. But there was a gentleman there who I got to shake hands with, and he was the last surviving Medal of Honor recipient, Walt Ehlers, from the Big Red One. Excuse me. And to shake his hand, it was incredible, because I knew what he saw and what he witnessed that morning. Because for the veterans, it doesn't go away. We can watch a movie and kind of file it back there, and kind of, if you're actually seeing that happen firsthand, it stays with you for your entire life. It's indelible. It is, you can't shake it. And I think my respect for the veterans is so high, because I don't know if I could live with that. I don't think I could. And that's something that we just kind of don't grasp sometimes. And, it's crazy. It's amazing. So whatever you do today, take a moment. If you're a praying type, just offer a prayer of thanks. And if you are at a VFW or you see someone that's of that age, definitely don't miss the opportunity to shake their hands and tell them thank you for their service, no matter what capacity or what theater. Just tell them thank you. I know they'll appreciate it, and they always do. They're always gracious. And, you know, if any of you are out there watching right now, thank you for your service and your undying love for our country. And I will forever commemorate June 6th, as well as other pivotal moments of World War II history on this channel. And thank you guys for watching and continuing to support my humble endeavors here on YouTube, whether it be old lanterns or antique cars or appliances or talking about history, real history. Thank you. And we'll return you back to your regular scheduled program next week. Same time, same station. This is Rayo Rob signing off. Bye-bye now.